Alrighty then, happy Friday the 13th. Today is a day that the Democrats are going to look back on with tremendous regret. They don't realize it yet, but today is the day that they're going to look back on and they're going to say, what were we thinking? Fat Jerry Nadler, our lumping little troll, chairman of the Judiciary Committee. The guy's literally 5'3". I think we need to put a height requirement to ride this ride. Okay, he's there standing next to Nancy's at the lectern. She's 5'6", and she might have a 2-inch heel on. So say she's 5'8", and he's standing there and he's looking up at her. Lumping little troll, miserable little man, hates Donald Trump, has hated Donald Trump for 50 years. He got his petty little revenge last night for, remember when their Codell was canceled? And Schlumpy Schliff had to get off the bus. They drove the bus around the block a few times so the press wouldn't realize that their Codell had been canceled. They all got on the bus like, we're going on a Codell. We're going to get to drink for free and stay in great hotels and eat for free, all on the taxpayer dime. And Trump said, yeah, no. Because they wouldn't take a vote to fund the government. And he canceled the Codell after they were on the bus on the way to the airport. And Schlumpy Schiff had to get off. Darn that Trump, we're going to get that Trump for this. Well, last night, Jerry Nadler didn't tell his Republican colleagues that he was going to do this, told all his Democrat pals so that they could make travel arrangements, left the Republicans in the lurch because they were supposed to leave today to go back to their districts. And now he held it over. He told him he wasn't gonna. He told him he was gonna take a vote last night, and then he didn't take a vote last night, and he adjourned until today, so they could take a vote, bright and bushy-tailed. All they wanted was more eyeballs on what they were doing today, which you'd think they would want to bury what they did last night. But they're actually proud of this. They think they've done a great thing for the Constitution, a great thing for the country. And do you notice how all of a sudden they love the flag? Because you can't find a Democrat talking on TV now unless he's standing in front of at least one flag, but probably 4 flags or even 6 flags, depending on how many people are standing there waiting to talk about how much they love the Constitution, what a great thing they're doing for democracy. Yeah, no, they're impeaching the president on 2 made-up things. Okay, abuse of power is not a crime. There's no crime in the U.S. Code called abuse of power. Obstruction of Congress isn't even a thing. But you know what is a thing? Contempt of Congress. And the only attorney general to ever in the history of the country be found guilty of contempt of Congress, Eric Holder, he says Attorney Barr is not fit to be attorney general. Because Attorney Barr is enforcing the law. We can't have an Attorney General enforcing the law against Democrats because Democrats are above the law. He is not fit for office. Says the only U.S. Attorney General will ever be found guilty of contempt of Congress. If you've got people like Eric Holder saying you're unfit for office, you're doing a damn fine job, son. Keep it up. I wasn't kidding when I made it up off the top of my head. I didn't sit and craft this thing. It literally came to me in a flash of inspiration, but it was about the most true thing I have ever said. Commie-crats, they hate you, they hate me, they hate America. And so they proved it this morning that they hate America on the Judiciary Committee by voting on a strictly partisan line. Not one Democrat defector voted 2 articles of impeachment. Obstruction of Congress. Not even a thing. What is a thing is executive privilege. All the obstruction of justice, all the obstruction of Congress charge, all the article of impeachment called obstruction of Congress, which is a made-up thing, that sounds really, really bad. See, Democrats like to do things that they make sound really, really bad. Like in New York, you can have a deer rifle that fires a 6-inch, has a 6-inch long cartridge and like a 3.5-inch long projectile that's huge and can blow a hole in you this big. But you can't have an AR-15 if it has a foregrip handle and a collapsible stock so that it can fit the right, fit your shoulder. Because those guns are black and they're scary looking and they're shootier Facts have shown that AR-15s are shootier. An AR-15 means assault rifle. And assault rifles are shootier than deer rifles. These people have no idea what they're talking about. They literally make crap up. We had a congressman from Maryland today sit in Congress and say like 6 or 7 things in a row, none of which were true, all of which were made up. There's a video out there. How many things can you make up in one 2-minute clip? It's unbelievable. Just like Shifty Schiff made up the transcript of his call. The transcript of Trump's call showed no quid pro quo. And by the way, why don't we have articles of impeachment for quid pro quo, for bribery, for extortion? We've flirted with extortion briefly. For what else did they say? All those things that he was guilty of. How come they're going with abuse of power and in the made-up charge of obstruction of Congress? Because they don't have anything. And Nancy even said, they asked her today, what about bribery? You said you were going to impeach him on bribery. Why not? Well, where's bribery? And she gets up there and she says, I'm not a lawyer, okay? Even though I play one. This is literally what she said. I'm not a lawyer, even though I often play one on TV, but not as often as I play a doctor. She said that. She plays a lawyer. She often plays a lawyer on TV, but not as often as she plays a doctor. Try to be funny, but so these articles, they are what they are, and don't be mistaken. These are strong. These articles are powerful. These are strong. And they're neither powerful nor strong, but I guess because she clenched her claw and went like this, that magically made them powerful and strong in Libland. Don Lemon immediately said, oh my, the 2 most powerful, strong articles of impeachment in the history of the United States, leveled against Donald John Trump, 45th President of the United States. These people, I just can't with them. So we got 2 made-up articles of impeachment. We got people making up stuff. They're not even, they went back to business dealings in the 80s and 90s. They went back to personal life things. They're this is a pattern of abuse that began when Donald Trump was a teenager in military school. They're impeaching him because Orange Man bad. They're impeaching him because Jerry Nadler said it himself. Al Green said it. If we don't impeach him, he will be reelected. AOC said it. We have to impeach him to avoid a bad outcome next year. And Jerry Nadler himself said it. The lumpin' little troll, Humpty Lumpty, said it himself. Quote, we cannot count on an election to solve our problems. Quote, and what are their problems? Their problems are a wrecking ball, an outsider came to D.C. and is dismantling their beloved deep state. Even though Nancy freaks out and says, there's no deep state! Yeah, methinks she doth protest too much. Well, do you know what's going to happen next November? Exactly what happened last night in the UK. What happened last night in the UK? I posted the 2 maps from 1994 to the current parliamentary map. Just a beautiful sea of Tory blue swept across that island. Most of Scotland is yellow with the Scottish National Party. But just like our map where the whole country's blue except for the dots of red, and that's right, Republican is blue, Democrat, Commie-crat, red. Don't forget, Commie-crat, red. So even though we've got these red hats, Commie-crats are the reds. Better dead than red. Remember that? That's why Tim Russert flipped the colors in 2000. Well, my thing is flipping them back. Take back the blue. Because next November, True blue Republicans and blue dog Democrats who have had enough are going to do the same thing that conservatives in the UK did last night. All of Cornwall went blue. It was different parties in '94 and a little bit Libby and, you know, Tony Blair, and he's kind of cool. And nope, it's all Bojo now. And he had the most brilliant political advert I've ever seen ever. I posted it last night. It's even better than Ronald Reagan's iconic Morning in America advert from 1984 that portrayed optimism and hope for the country. Bojo took the scene from Love Actually, where the guy who's in love with the woman who's married to his best mate goes to her door and tells her it's carolers and puts on some caroling music and has these signs telling her how much he loves her. And now that he's told her how much he loves her, he walks away and he goes, enough. Meaning, okay, I can put that behind me. She knows how I feel about her. I can put that behind me and move on with my life. Well, Bojo did the same thing, except his signs were all talking about how important her vote was so that they can do a Brexit deal and get past this whole Brexit tie-up, this whole tangle, this whole inaction in Parliament for 3 years because of Brexit. We got to get past Brexit, do a trade deal with America, do other things that are going to benefit Britons, other things that will be good for the United Kingdom. So we need your vote so we can get the 9 seats we need. See, the way Parliament works, if you don't have an absolute majority, you have to ally yourself with another party and form a coalition of 2 or more parties to form what's called a working majority. And there's horse trading. It's like, okay, we will come in with you, Tories, if you give us a certain number of cabinet seats. And, you know, there's horse trading. So you'll have mostly Tory ministers, except you'll have a couple of the other parties' ministers. And it's a coalition. It's loosely knit. It's not formal. It's we're going to vote with you. You know, just like Justin Amash declares himself an independent, it votes with the Democrats every time. Just like Bernie Sanders declares himself an independent and votes with the Democrats every time. It's like that. They needed 9 seats to get an absolute majority. He got 89. Okay, because people, and then, so Bojo goes through the signs and tells her how important the vote is and to get out and vote Tory so that we can do Brexit and get past it. And then he walks to the camera, looks directly into it, and says, enough. Enough of the obstructionism. Enough with the nonsense. Enough. And he walks off. It was brilliant. It was one of the best political ads. It was the best. I'm going to say that was the best political advert I've ever seen. And he got 89 seats. All of England now is Tory blue. Except for the little red dots of Remainers. In, you know, the Scottish National Party, and then in Northern Ireland, the Irish parties, the DUP and whatnot. But so the Conservatives now have the biggest majority they've had since Margaret Thatcher's 3rd election in 1985. So they're doing okay. And guess what? Next year, President Trump we're not only going to keep the Senate, and he's not only going to be reelected, but we're going to recapture the House. And we're going to recapture the House with a big enough majority so the Democrats are going to be absolutely paralyzed. And this time, we won't have Rhino Ryan as Speaker. We're going to have House leadership this time that have learned their lesson, because they let the Democrats have power for 2 years. And like Lindsey Graham in the Senate said after the Kavanaugh hearings, all you people care about is power, and God help us if you ever get it. Or no, he said, I hope to God you never get it. Well, they got it. And we've had this 2-year shift show. The Squad and Shifty Schiff and Humpty Lumpty and all this impeachment BS. This is what the Democrats do with power. And then, you know, late in the day, Nancy said, oh yeah, we're going to do USMCA after all, because her people are coming to her saying, you got to give us something. You got to do drug prices. We got to do infrastructure. We got to do USMCA. We got to do something, or else we're going to get killed next November. Well, they're still going to get killed next November. Now they're going to try to split the vote on the floor. It's not going to be both articles up and down. They're going to do each article so people can vote no on obstruction of Congress, and yes on abuse of power. So then they can go back to their districts and lie and say, no, this was serious, a sober decision, and no, I voted against impeaching him before I voted for impeaching him. Okay, where have we heard that before? I voted against the bill before I voted for it. That was the lugubrious John Forbes Kerry. He likes to portray himself as a regular Boston Irish guy, and he's nothing of the sort. He's a Brahmin from way back. But the same thing that happened in Great Britain last night, the United Kingdom, Great Britain and Northern Ireland, is what's going to happen next November. And if you thought they melted down in 2016, you ain't seen nothing yet. Now, what's interesting is, do you know who the most powerful man in the world is right now? That would be Mitch McConnell. Why? Because, as I've told you, Mitch is going to control how the trial proceeds. And now they're coming out like crazy because Mitch said there isn't going to be a dime's worth of difference. There's going to be zero daylight between us and the White House on this. We're going to do it hand in hand. That's what he's saying publicly, and he's doing it to trigger the left, and the left is absolutely triggered. This is just the worst thing in the history of history. He blocked Merrick Garland. And then he did this, and then he did this, and then he did this, and now he's doing this. Collusion! They're absolutely melting down. And we're here drinking liberal tears. But what they don't realize, see, there's what the words are, and then there's what the words mean. When he says, we're going to be joined at the hip with the White House, that there's going to be no daylight between us and the White House, we're going to be in lockstep with the White House. What he's really saying is that the White House is going to be in lockstep with us. Because they don't, if they lose 4 Republicans, they're dead. And why 4? Because Joe Manchin said he's going to vote against. But we know that Mittens and Murkowski and Susan Collins are going to vote to impeach, or at least threaten to vote to impeach, right? So if they lose another one, and the president gets impeached, it's a pretty thin majority. But I don't see it happening because Mitch is going to say here's the thing: Mitch is not going to allow the Senate to turn into a clown car, carnival ride, like the House has turned into. Okay, the Democrats have they're the chimpanzees at the zoo that are flinging their own poo everywhere. That's what the House is right now. Democrats flinging their own poo everywhere. And the House is an absolute shambles. I said today, can you imagine how much could be accomplished if toddler Democrats weren't leaving their Barbie shoes all over the house? All you parents who have taken a midnight walk to the kitchen will know exactly what I'm talking about there. Mitch isn't going to let that happen in the Senate. Okay, we're not going to see Hunter Biden subpoenaed, and Joe Biden isn't going to be frog marched in there, and Hillary Clinton's not going to be in there, and none of these people. It's not going to happen. So get over your wet dream fantasies. It's fun to think about. Not going to happen. What's going to happen is they're going to take the W and they're going to go home. They're going to hear testimony about why these charges are ridiculous. The obstruction of Congress charge basically comes down to this. We don't have time to do the constitutional thing, which is when we issue a subpoena and the president says, hold on there, I'm exerting executive privilege, you're not entitled to that. The proper constitutional response is to go to the district court and tell the district court why you need the material and why it is in pursuance of your constitutionally mandated authority. And the president gets to say why they're not entitled to it. And then a decision is rendered, and guaranteed one party is not going to be happy. So they go to the appellate court. And remember, the appellate court is not a retrying of the facts of the case. Now we're talking about the law. Now we're talking about the Constitution. And the losing side will say, Your Honors, the district court erred because and the winning side will say, Your Honor, the district court was correct because, and then one party is going to be unhappy with the ruling at the appellate court, and they will go to SCOTUS. And maybe, because of the political nature of it, it will be expedited to SCOTUS. It will go right to SCOTUS. Well, they know they don't have SCOTUS. And they know an election is coming, and they don't have time to go through all that messy, lengthy, legal mumbo-jumbo, which is actually the constitutional response to having your subpoena denied. They don't have time for the Constitution because, remember, they hate the Constitution. They crap on the Constitution. They shred it and eat it for breakfast every single morning. They did it for 8 years. They're doing it now. Obstruction of Congress is not a thing. Obstruction of Congress. When you hear obstruction of Congress, hear, we don't have time to go to the courts. Because it's actually at the courts. We don't have time to even subpoena John Bolton, so we are going to impeach the president because he said that John Bolton wouldn't be testifying, even though we didn't impeach him. We're not going to go through the whole procedure of subpoenaing John Bolton and then having the subpoena rejected. We're not even going to go through that. The president tweeted that John Bolton wouldn't be testifying, therefore we can impeach him because the president tweeted that John Bolton wouldn't be testifying, even though we never even actually subpoenaed John Bolton. The whole thing is made up and phony. The whole thing boils down to Orange Man bad, can't trust the American people to vote him out of office. That's all it is. Well, they're going to rue this day, just like Jeremy Corbyn and Joe Swinton rue 12th December. They're going to rue 13th December because this is a day that will live in demfamy. All right, that's all I've got for you tonight. Until next time, God bless you. God bless these United States. Keep fighting the good fight.